Okay, I'm sorry. This just doesn't sit right with me. Now, don't, get me wrong. I enjoyed Season 3 of Invincible. Rest in peace to my glorious king, Rexplode. I actually think I liked Mark more this season than I have in any other season. But there is a very clear problem, societally, that this show both uses and ignores that caused me to be annoyed with Invincible this entire season.
His strength, 138%.
Invincible is the strongest hero on Earth. And it kind of seems like it's not really close. In fact, when Invincible is butting heads with Cecil, one reason why Cecil escalates so severely is because he's afraid of Mark.
With you. I don't threaten. No, because you're scaring the out of me right now.
I thought early in the season that Mark was learning a lesson that he needed to learn.
What kind of man lets others die because he won't act?
He's kidnapped to the future, to a worldwide dystopia of total societal collapse and subjugation by the immortal. And Mark is whining and bitching about ending his life. It's contrived that the immortal won't just kill himself or simply self-exile, but I'm not really spending time on that because this is about Mark and his journey. Because it's equally stupid that Mark won't just kill him. Speaking just of the immortal, he's immortal. Wow. Cutting his head off is like pulling the power cord on your computer when you hear your mom is coming upstairs and you're on a certain site you shouldn't be on and you can't exit out of the computer page because the pop-up windows won't stop blocking. It's not a big deal. He kills Immortal and it does take a toll on him, which is understandable. The Immortal is somewhat of a friend and definitely a mentor. There's so much death that he has to deal with all the time, every day. The Invincible War was a worldwide catastrophe, spurred on by Angstrom Levy, a person with a massive bone to pick with Invincible. He gathers invincible variants from other worlds and deploys them as weapons of chaos. Millions and millions of people die for his personal vendetta. And in the aftermath, when helping to clean up the wreckage, Conquest arrives.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Now, he and Invincible fight with some upgraded animation and really good choreography, and Conquest is whooping his ass. Of course he is. When Anissa came to Earth and easily beat Mark,
oh, brother!
She warned him that they would send someone who's basically just worse than her if he didn't do his job.
He will demonstrate the error of your ways, and this whole planet will pay the price.
And well, they did. Conquest is terrible. He's super evil even by Viltrumite standards, I guess. He's clearly stronger than Invincible, and from the way he talks, he's stronger than, or at least a direct match for, Mark's father, Omni-Man. Oliver shows up and gets a lick in on Conquest. He's a child and he still somehow doesn't understand the seriousness of a fight, to an extent, I guess. And Mark tells him to go away because he's just going to get himself killed. Which is true, correct. You understand, Mark. These aren't just fights. Every conflict you get into with someone who can kill you is a death match. Oliver doesn't listen. Conquest slaps the fuck out of him, knocking out his teeth later on, and then proceeds to slowly tear him in half while explaining just how much of a combat boner he gets when someone's guts shower on his head.
This is going to be amazing.
And they show every detail, even Oliver's tears falling on Conquest's face. Now don't worry, it seems like I'm getting sidetracked, but we're getting close to my point here. Mark gets in a little more offense before Conquest takes him for a ride across the ocean. And this is where I began to get annoyed. This fight mirrors the fight he had with his father. Once again, Mark is beaten up, powerless, and is used as a battering ram to splatter useless, inconsequential human beings against, as the show gets to Greg gets due set to the gratuitous violence. It loves to show us human beings splattering against the pavement, against Mark's body, their shock and surprise right before their limbs are ripped off and their bodies are torn to pieces. And the same goes for heroes. Every fight has pints of blood splattering everywhere from every punch. Faces reshapen, bones broken and tearing out of skin, horrific wounds dealt by genuinely evil opponents willing to fight to the death to steal money, or resources, or just to enact whatever their goal is. Every hero deals with violence like this. Rexplode's girlfriend was literally crushed, almost to death, inside the body of a villain she was attempting to expand inside and kill herself. Immortal's been killed multiple times. Samson's been beaten to a pulp. Rexplode, everyone in this show lives in the same violent world. And no villain ever just gets arrested. No one ever just gives up. They at least have to get their face crushed in, curb stomped, or whatever. It's not just violence, it's brutality. This is the reality of Invincible. He doesn't save people or do humanitarian work. He's not a law enforcement officer whose job it is to protect and serve the public in any way he can and occasionally deal out violence. He's a soldier. His job is war. The show tells us that's what these heroes do. They do war. They make war against villains. The morality of killing your enemies isn't interesting when the context is war, where there aren't prisons who can hold the soldiers you're fighting against, when their first act as a newly free individual is to immediately engage in actions that get the populace killed. What's the point of being a hero when everything you do gets people killed? Invincible's world is one of the dumbest worlds to have a no-kill rule in. And after Conquest drags him across an ocean and kills dozens of people, literally in front of his eyes, Adam Eve shows up, still injured from her fight with the Invincible variants, and Mark gets his leg broken, which, by the way, in this world is barely a significant injury in any dangerous fight. So he watches from the ground, because apparently he can't fly because his leg is broken, as Conquest takes Adam Eve apart. He brutally crushes her face with a punch and impales her, and I gotta say, it just made me more annoyed to watch this.
Kill him.
It's unnecessary. Finally, Mark flies up to catch her as he falls because apparently he can still fly. Her guts are hanging out as he cries and begs her not to die, before she seemingly does. And then finally, after all this, he attacks Conquest and swears to kill him.
I don't care how fast you are. I can see the future. You don't live to see tomorrow.
This is the first time I've heard him indicate he intends to kill Conquest during this entire fight. He attacks Conquest again, gets his hand shattered, and keeps coming. But it sure does seem like he's definitely hitting way harder than he was before, like he's actually going all out. Adam Eve gets up, burns Conquest, but of course he's not dead yet. Invincible hits Conquest while he's monologuing, before mounting him for more. And Conquest breaks his other hand, so Mark starts headbutting. And he headbutts him to death. Afterwards, while he's recovering in the Pentagon's medical facilities, he realizes that the literal child, that's his little brother, was right. He, probably should kill some people. Wow, like what a revelation that no one could have figured out. Now, Invincible is a good show. It has interesting characters, fun fights, but the moral conundrums are completely uninteresting, at least in this particular case. Invincible is a world where criminals of all kinds are typically also vicious murderers, psychopaths, who are either actively trying to kill as many people as they can, or don't care about human life or how many people get hurt while they do whatever it is they want to do. Mark being hesitant to kill people is understandable, but having such a strong no-killing moral rule is just wrong. I am totally uninterested in watching Mark bitch and moan and cry while he watches people get crushed and ripped apart to show us how terrible and brutal the world is and how sad and empathetic Mark is when he is unwilling to stop it. And with the fight ending with Mark's badass giving into the violence moment, I thought it was cool, but it had none of the impact it should have. It's a situation where you're not doing too little, but you are doing it way too fucking late.
Is this what you wanted?
Yeah, actually, it is what I wanted, like 5 minutes ago.